I'm Rick Rapetti, the host of this series, the APPA Book Club, and I'm delighted to have Susi Ferrarello, PhD, joining us today to discuss her 2022 book, The Ethics of Love, Emotional Dilemmas for a Relational Life, published by Routledge, which combines ancient Greek literature, phenomenology, philosophical counseling case studies, and ethical theory to explore one of the most fundamental yet challenging aspects of human existence: how to love well and ethically. Susi's a philosopher and public scholar specializing in phenomenology and bioethics. She's currently based in California, where she works as an associate professor at California State University, East Bay. She lectures and writes on the intersections of lived experience, moral agency, and embodied transformation. I'm curious about these topics. Among her more recent books is The Phenomenology of Pregnancy and Early Motherhood, which Routledge published last year, 2024. Maybe we could have her back at some point to discuss that book. In addition to her academic work, Susi's a certified philosophical counselor and an advocate for integrative, holistic approaches to maternal mental health. She writes for Psychology Today in her column called Lying on the Philosopher's Couch. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Susi to the APPA Book Club series. And just for the sake of clarity, anyone who might be new here or watching this at a recorded moment later on, we'll be here for about 90 minutes. First half, I'll be asking Susi questions and, we'll be dialoguing a little bit about her responses. And then for the second half, we'll open it up to audience Q&A. So Susi, first, tell us about yourself. Like, how did you come to philosophy? And the APPA is all about philosophical practice. And how did you come to philosophical counseling?
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. It's fantastic to be here. It's wonderful to see Lou again and meet you and all of you. How did I arrive there? Because I was lost, as usual. Uh, so I decided to do philosophy, I guess, to bring some sense to the messiness of life. Uh, Recently, and Lou was a guest of the podcast. I organized a podcast that was called Philosophy Gets Personal. And so in the podcast, I was interviewing philosophers and chatting with them and so on. And I realized that I am not the only one who ended up in philosophy after, a, a difficult childhood or some troubled moments of growing up. It seems that philosophy calls for this desire of looking at things from the bigger picture, from an analytical point of view, to bring some sense, to bring some order. So it was somewhat restoring to do this podcast. And I ended up in New York meeting, the fabulous APPA. Out of a guess, I just moved to the US. In Italy, I used to be, I was teaching already in academia, but it was leading nowhere. And I was a tutor. I was teaching Greek and Latin, ancient Greek and Latin. And I realized that it was impossible to help my students without establishing some kind of connection, to locate them as people in relation to their teachers, to the subject they were learning, to the classroom. So I always had very good results, but also very deep relationships with my students. And when I arrived in the US, none of that was possible. And I felt lost and I wondered, I cannot just do philosophy as academia asked me to do it. I mean, it's dry, it's isolating, doesn't feel right. And when you start, thank God we have internet today, when you start looking for answers on the internet that you don't really know, because it's really hard to hear about philosophical counseling still today. And I found this opportunity in New York. I was very scared. I just moved to the US. I didn't have a dollar. Uh, I was young. I mean, it was really a bet. And I said, yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, I will just use it for myself. It's one more title I'll hang on on my wall, and I'll just keep it there. And no, against all my ideas, it changed my life. It was fantastic to take part. That at that time it was in person. Now I know from the people who were there, it's mostly online. It was fantastic to meet everyone. It was a life-changing experience.
Can
And
I ask what year was that you took that training? Do you
I have
remember?
no idea. I
Lou, do
was
you
in my
remember?
20s.
It was a time-changing experience too, Rick, so I don't remember either what year. It was some years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 45. I was 26, 20. It was
Oh.
quite a long time ago. Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, several years pre
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Way pre-pandemic.
In the
Yeah, at
early
least
2000s. Yeah.
9 years before the pandemic.
Oh, okay. 2010
Yeah.
maybe.
And I had the opportunity to meet in person nice people with Massimo Pigliucci, for example. I'm still in contact. It was fun. It was really, really fun. So yeah, so I started having clients. I was terrified because it meant to have clients in English, which wasn't my first language. And for a job I didn't know yet how to do. But they kept coming. They kept coming. Then I started writing for Psychology Today, which made my group of clients bigger. It's not something that I do 24/7. I mean, it's still a side job. Uh, but certainly it gave me that connection that I was searching for, and made philosophy alive. And it was fantastic, to marry philosophical counseling with phenomenology. I mean, it was just perfect. Yeah.
Wonderful story. Um, yeah, I'll ask you later a little more about phenomenology. But okay. Uh, why did you write this book?
Ecco, this book instead is connected to the pandemic. Because when the pandemic hit, I was in Switzerland. I was living there. There weren't many psychotherapists who could speak different languages. There weren't many psychotherapists in general. And so I was overwhelmed with requests. It was really hard to also decide which person I could take on, how I could help these people. I still remember Lou's example to how to choose uh, people if they fit for you or not. He told us back then, that feeling you have when you are on a train or in a public transportation, and you don't feel so at ease with that person. Maybe it's better to keep your distance. Echo, trust in the same way your instincts when you have to make the very difficult choice whether to take on a client or not. And the pandemic was, as we all know, a desperate moment. So certainly I was overworked. And I started feeling really a kind of frustration to how we were hurting each other. Because in the pandemic, we found ourselves stuck in our place, either with ourselves, which is not easy as well, or with other people. And we had to learn how to cope with the sense of uncertainty, fear, altogether. And there was this ongoing saying that kept coming back with my clients. That was, but if the intention is good, it thinks that the result will be in any case acceptable and good. No matter the consequences, if I love you, it's anyway good. I wasn't like that. I mean, yeah, certainly love, it's a fantastic, beautiful feeling, but love can hurt. I had, I mean, I witnessed the stories of many women in abusive relationships. Parents were obsessive and repressive with their children. I witnessed the stretch of love, and I thought, is there a way to educate ourselves to love in the same way, for example, in which we educate ourselves to straight thinking? I mean, logic, for example, it's a discipline that we use to thinking straight, to educate ourselves to be clear in the way in which we share thoughts with others. Can we do the same in love? So I thought, what if ethics, this discipline that helps us to make choices, to decide which way to go, what's the best direction to take? Can ethics stands to logic in the same way as love stands to clear thinking? Can we improve, educate our ability to love in the same way as we educate our ability to think? And so I started this experiment, and it was fun. I mean, I chose just very little cases. I organized the book in ethical dilemmas. So, do we happen to love out of luck because there's just this sense of attraction? Or is there a decision there? Is there some work? Is there some action that gives us some responsibility in
Agency, yeah.
agency, bravo, agency in our romantic relationship? Or rage? Rage was another huge theme during the pandemic. Is rage something that, can swallow us? Is rage something that can work for us? So it was fun. It was liberating.
What a really interesting thing. Yeah, I guess clients coming to you during the pandemic were thrown closer together than they normally are. And this is a challenge to intimate relationships. So yeah, this book grew out of that. That's fascinating. It's a very nice origin story for this book. Wonderful.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, really interesting. Okay, so that leads to the next question. For those who haven't read the book, can you tell us the overall arc of the book or the main argument? Tell the audience here about the main ideas in this book.
Yeah, as I started saying before a little, I organized the book on ethical dilemmas because I was curious to see how ethics would have worked in relation to love. And so I structured each chapter in this order. I used ancient philosophy as archetypes. I really needed something that could speak to the larger audience, that could bring that sense of humanity without closing up to our little neuroses and quirks and so on. Then I used the cases. So often I compared the mythology, the epic, the ancient literature to cases. Christina, for example, with Penelope, Achilles with Dimitri, and so on. And then I used some philosophy, mostly ancient, sometimes also modern philosophy, to reflect on the problem that was at hand. And at the end of each chapter, I presented the exercises because I give my clients generally exercises to do. And even though maybe some of them at the beginning is resistant to apply the exercise or what is this and so on, they are generally happy to do the exercise. So I said, why not? Let's add it to the book.
They're
And
not used to getting homework from
no,
psychotherapists. Yeah.
no, they don't like it. Plus, from a philosopher, what do you want from me? You programming me? Yeah,
So look, before you go a little further, just
of
give a
course.
little synopsis of Christina and Penelope for the audience, because I read it, so I know what you're referring to. But
Right. Yeah, for example, oh God, it was so fun for me to explore it because, the story of Penelope and Odysseus is very simple in the end. Penelope is yeah, there's this couple after the birth. This is something I understood only once I got my child, but anyway, after the birth of their first and only child, Odysseus has to leave for the war. And and Penelope, as you know, try to keep at bay her suitors. Um, when I met Christina, she made me think of Penelope in the sense that there was this woman from a southern Mediterranean country, not Italy. Unfortunately, it would have been nice because we could have related, but maybe it was better because there was no projection, but from a Mediterranean culture. And she needed help from me. She wanted to let more joy in her life. The first thing I experienced from her was a kind of a wall. I was treated more or less like the suitors were treated by Penelope. She used their children as a kind of a barrier to reject, work together. So she wanted to be helped, but at the same time, she made this distance. She was waiting. That's the thing. She was waiting for something. Her husband, of course, was abusive, was distant, was emotionally unavailable. She had to raise her children more or less by herself. Um, and she complained strongly about all the care she was giving to the people around her, her daughters, not the daughters, her sisters, her husband, her children. And at the same time, she didn't receive any feedback of all the care she was giving. Um, Another element, and that made me think also of Penelope. She was taking care of the people who were working for her, especially the women, considering the Feaci's behavior. Um, and yeah, there was this strong yearning for solitude, but at the same time, I remember I asked her, what's bothering you the most now? And she said, yeah, the fact that I feel lonely, that I have to carry all this by myself. And that too made me think of, Penelope wants to reconnect with her Odysseus. She wanted to stay with her husband. We spoke at length about the viability of this marriage. But at the same time, when Odysseus comes back, she pretends not to know him. I mean, he has to to fight to gain again Penelope's trust and to reconnect with her. Same thing with Christina. She wanted to be with this man, but at the same time, she didn't deem him the right person. Another thing that was very much in common between Penelope and Christina, who, of course, my reading, um, was the fact that they both know very well that they were queen of their land. I mean, Penelope didn't become a queen because Odysseus was a king. Penelope was the queen, and whoever she married, that person would have become the king. So she knew that truly connecting with someone would have cost a big part of her power. Same thing with Christina. She was the queen of her land. Uh, and letting her husband in or anyone else in would have meant a loss of power. And she was very aware of how she wanted to raise her children. In this case, the power was very much connected to where and how to take care of her children. So we work very much on recovering a sense of agency, a sense of ownership, because she was very much connected to all the relationships she had in her life, so much so that she completely forgot about herself, about what she loved, who she was as a person, her sense of boundaries. She had no sense of boundaries, hence the care she was devoting to others was just a care she needed for herself, and she didn't allow herself to have. Hence this sense of desiring some loneliness and at the same time feeling completely alone. And we worked very much on her sense of waiting, which was so fascinating for me also to read in Penelope. I mean, when we read the Odyssey, we wonder, what is this woman waiting? She's not waiting for the coming back of Odysseus. It's not that simple. When Odysseus comes back, she doesn't even pay attention. She's not waiting to marry anyone. But certainly she's in a precarious moment of her life. Certainly she feels vulnerable. Certainly she's going through a deep transformation. And that's what I read also in Christina. It was the successful case with Christina. There wasn't any huge change. But we could touch with our hands that she was waiting for her destiny to unfold, for her abilities to grow, for herself to become who she was. She wasn't. She was facing that challenge, the challenge of not relying in the other to become who she was. And that was a huge challenge for her. Maybe some codependency. But she was fighting against that because it was giving her just pain, suffering. So, it was a little bit like waiting for Godot. There was this wait for the wait itself that she had to accept. She had to go through what she was going through, and I was there as a witness. I was there just to bring to awareness this moment. As simple as that. But it was hard to accept because we are so used to this kind of utilitaristic society for which, you do this to reach, you move from A to reach B, and you
solve problems right away.
Right. Yes. That, taking, accepting the fact of
Being
waiting
stuck,
itself.
being uncertain, working through confusion, all of that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the theme of Penelope, the wait. She's waiting. And Christina was waiting as well.
It's a great story. It's just one example of many of those cases in your book where you bring in these characters like Penelope and Achilles and whatnot. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that one sample.
Thanks.
It's a good one because I wanted you to clarify it because it leads into my next question. So, you draw a lot on philosophical counseling cases like Christina, who you see as a kind of modern Penelope. I would imagine that you shared this Penelope model with her and that helped her think about it, or was this only in your own head?
My own
Curious.
head. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I try to keep things as the least intellectual possible with my
Okay.
clients.
Good. Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. All right, so here's my question. I often say that philosophical counseling presupposes mental health. You know,
Mhm.
and Lou has a book called Therapy for the Sane, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas
Yes.
psychotherapy does not presuppose mental health. Like, but
Hmm.
Christina's initial presentation, you even mentioned it looks like it might have an element of codependency. This might be a mental health issue for some people, depending on the severity. So, how do
Hmm.
you draw the line? All right. So, Lou gave you the one thing. You don't want to
Yeah.
sit next to them on the subway, but you're working with somebody like this, it's a gray area. I'm curious how you
It's
differentiate
extremely
between
hard.
philosophical counseling and psychotherapy. We're all
Thank you.
struggling with this, so help us
No,
think
no,
about
no.
it.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a good group question. Thanks for asking. It's extremely hard because you don't want to go to get in trouble, right? I mean, you want to to do your job, but to be safe and happy. Uh, so after a while, I was working. I started giving a questionnaire because I realized, okay, it's good to get the area clean from instincts. Yes, good, but we need to make sure that there's a number of things that they didn't touch. For example, I mean, do you take psychopharmacs? Have you ever taken them? Have you suicidal thoughts? Have you ever tried to suicide? You know, basic questions that help me understand. And also sometimes the question why they come is so clear because if they come with a kind of a riddle, generally it's the work for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, but if they come with I don't understand why I'm in love with my wife, but I cannot stop cheating on her. This one was one of my clients. Fantastic. Okay. Uh, let's go that route. It's really fun. But if they say, I don't know, I'm clinically, I'm depressed, and I think I need to start a cycle of psychotherapy. Clearly, I'm not your person. And often they are very poorly educated about differences between psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, philosophical counseling, coaching.
Yeah,
So you need to guide them. So there's this quiz, this questionnaire,
yeah,
but the questionnaire is not enough, especially during the pandemic. I had really moments in which I couldn't sleep at night. Because, for example, I got this client from Northern Europe. She seemed very composed, balanced. She was having, problems with dating apps. Okay, let's discuss them. Then while we were talking, because whether you want it or not, you go deep in, you start digging. And then she told me about that time in which she cut her veins and her father found her in a pool of blood. Oh, so I mean,
yeah,
I had
yeah,
to very kindly refer her to colleagues. Fortunately, I have many good colleagues, say, in psychotherapy, in psychiatry. And of course, it's never an easy transition because they create a connection with you, they trust you, and they want to work with you.
yeah,
So I generally offer them a period grace of transition in which I say, don't worry, you can keep working with me, but maybe it's better if we are, helped by another professional. I try to do that also with another client who had a husband who was a sociopath, I think. And I got so scared, Eric. I got so scared because I thought, oh my God, this guy is going to write to me at some point, or something bad is going to happen. And I asked the help of a psychotherapist, even if she didn't have this deep problematic, her husband was really dangerous, I thought. But she refused the help of the psychotherapist. We had to go through this separation by ourselves. We managed to do that. It was scary, it was tough, but we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to choose the client.
Yeah, having a great intake questionnaire helps, but it's not a guarantee.
No, it's not enough.
I asked them, all those
Uh,
questions too. Not exactly the same ones, but similar questions, especially why are you coming? What do you
mhm,
expect, etc. Have you ever had any mental health problems? All that stuff.
mhm.
And you get nice responses and you start talking. And I was meeting a client for several sessions when it became clear to me that I thought he must have had some kind of traumatic brain injury.
Oh,
And I suggested to him that it sounded this way to me based on what I kept hearing. And I said, I
right.
can't diagnose you, but if I was you or you were a friend or some loved one of mine, I would strongly encourage you to go get an MRI. He didn't want to do that, and he stopped coming to me.
Which is fine. I mean, if they
Yeah,
stop coming, is good as well. It's in their choice.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it's scary.
yeah. Okay, my next question is it may be more about me, but this is something I
Um,
plan on asking everybody going forward, not just you. So I've been struggling. When people ask me what other philosophical counselors ask me, what's your method? I say, I don't necessarily have a method. I have access to, I've learned a lot of methods. I have a kind of methodless method, but I'm not even happy with this terminology because depending on the
right.
circumstances, I might use a particular method. So, how would you describe your approach?
I completely agree with your meldless method. I like it very much. Because, it depends on the clients you have in front of you. I
Exactly.
don't know, now it comes to my mind the metaphor of a restaurant. You can cook a number of meals, and your client might have a preference for one thing or another. So you look for what make the encounter more nutritious. So I rarely echo. For sure, there are things that I don't do. I don't talk about philosophy, not much. I mean, unless it's strictly necessary. At some point, it was necessary for a client to understand the notion of APPA in phenomenology. Okay, that was an honest question. When I have clients who come and brag about their knowledge of philosophy, we don't go anywhere. I mean, it's a waste of their money. Uh, yeah, okay, let's do it. I nod. It doesn't do any good to anyone. So I really go into philosophical details. Maybe sometimes, I bring in lay terms, and that I do in lay terms, but it really lived terms, embodied way, certain philosophical concepts. Um, but I rarely stay on,
Yeah.
yeah, on the level of a philosophical lecture. I Yeah, I try to get in any way possible the full picture of what they've been through and what they want to solve. Because generally, the good client, at least for me, for the philosophical counseling session, has a circumscribed issue. And you want to see the full picture and be able to give it back to them. So I try to get there, mostly, of course, being a phenomenologist with phenomenology. But yeah.
Good. I like that. Makes sense. I resist personally this idea that there's any kind of universal medicine because there's no universal disease. Although
Esatto.
the Buddha thought we're all diseased, and
Yeah.
he had a solution for that, but that's a one size fits all thing, and I resist that too. Um, all right, so interestingly, this segues only accidentally into, because I just mentioned Buddha,
Ah,
into
yeah.
my next question for you, which is you mentioned in the book about Achilles, and you have like three different kinds of rage. Good, better, and best, or bad, better, bad, okay, and good, or whatever. And so the Buddhists, rage is like an excess of anger, right? It's like a total anger and a zenith level. But the Buddhists say, Buddhist scholars and philosophers and teachers of Buddhism and all that, they insist that there's never a single instance of anger which is good, right? But you've differentiated three different kinds of rage. Could you speak to that a little bit
Of
to
course.
us? Yeah.
Yeah, rage was a big problem during the pandemic, was a big problem for my client. I was the recipient of rage in many different ways, and I tried to channel rage. And in that sense, I went back to the Iliad. The Iliad is a poem on Menin, which is a form of rage. Achilles is a hero in rage. But Achilles is a hero. So he's an agathos. He's a good person. He's noble. So how does that work? So I started rereading this book through the lens of Greek philosophy, mythology, and so on. And it seems that, first of all, there are no bad people in the Iliad. There are failures. There are those who committed the amartia, which is the biggest of the sin, which generally coincide with the hubris, with believing to be more than they were, and with the disobedience to the gods. But then again, gods, like heroes in ancient philosophy and literature, are not different people. According for them, they are all parts of the same psyche. So when Achilles is in rage, and he finally obeys to Athena, is in fact becoming a hero, in the sense that he is fulfilling a part of himself that helps him to become who he is. According to this cosmology, at the birth, each one of us is given a moron, which means a portion of destiny. And our job, and it's very much presented sometimes with the Parkes, right, that they meet this destiny together, and your job is to unfold this line. So when Achilles is thumos, which is the good kind of rage, when he's reacting to all the stupidity of Agamemnon, because Agamemnon, even the name means the one who thinks too slowly. So poor guy, he stood no chance in the Iliad. When he's all this enraged and he's trying to defend his people because he's standing up for his people after all, Athena, who likes showing up only to smart people, and in fact, she is the goddess of Odysseus, and she doesn't like to talk too much.
Kapatır mısın?
So she tells
Şeyini
him,
kapatır mısın telefonu? Telefonu.
obey. All right, thank you. She tells him, obey. So you have just to accept what life is bringing you. You cannot start a civil war. In that, I skip on the details of the book. You have just to obey. In that sense, it's not that far from Buddhism. He's making a connection with that rage. He's feeling the thumos. And it's interesting because in Greek, thumotikos is the adjective that means courageous. So he's being courageous, he's feeling all the steering that is inside him, and he's standing up to Agamemnon. But he decides to obey. He decides to connect with the deepest and truest part of himself to let his destiny unfold. And in fact, a flash forward to 11 books later, Agamemnon will do what Achilles wants. But in that moment, he has to trust what life is bringing to him. He has to trust his goddess, and he has to obey. Contrary to Ate, he was about to give in to blind rage, to that rage that is all out there, that is expressed and it's devouring both the person and those around them. And it doesn't make the hero a hero. It doesn't make the hero estelos, valuable, honorable. So with my clients, I encountered really any shadow of rage. And I must say, only one client showed that kind of tumos, that kind of courageous rage of looking at his life, letting the Maya veil, if you want, fall, and looking at his life as it truly was, and accepting the pain, accepting the rage he was feeling for his mother. He was the son of a very narcissistic mother, and here what he came to my office because he was about to get blind, and this is not the first case. He had a very heavy medical diagnosis. He was risking blindness, which is very curious in connection to rage again, because the rage is blind always.
Wow.
Yeah. And he told me, I need you. I said, no, you need a doctor. Clearly, you don't need me with such a diagnosis. And said, I have a doctor, I'm taking care of myself in a physical way, but I need to have an holistic approach. And it was shocking to see how he recovered. How it took, in this case, generally with my clients, I meet with them for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. I mean, we don't have long relationships. In that case, we met for 1 year on and off. Yeah, he needed to see his rage, to accept the narcissistic behaviors of her mother, the wounds, to set boundaries, and to do something with that. It was there. To reassure his body that he was there to take care of it. It was a very interesting path we took together. Yeah.
Great. Well, I have a whole bunch of other questions, but we're already at the halfway mark, which is fine. But I will ask one last question that I'm curious to have you speak to. What does it mean to study love phenomenologically?
Yeah, thanks for this question. Well, thanks for all the work you did for reading the book. It's an honor, really. I think that it means to commit to look at love from the lived experience, to never shy away from the lived experience, and to go back, to go back, to go back. I mean, yeah, you unfold a lived experience, you saw how a certain event developed, but you want to re-examine what you felt. You want to come back at each time into what caught your attention in the moment. If you want to meditate this phenomenon. You want to parenthesize any judgment, any assumption or a quick solution. You want to look at it from as many angles as possible, coming back as often as possible, grounding it in the lived experience. And yes, it's phenomenology, but it's I mean, it's philosophy. It's a very much, yeah. I think it can be found in many other ways in which we do philosophy.
Yeah, well, as somebody who focuses a lot of my work, and I think one of my, I don't mean to sound like I have hubris, but what, one of my superpowers as a philosophical counselor, I think is rooted in my ability to be present with the phenomenology, with the client, and with myself, and in my life, and that's from practicing meditation for most of my life. And to me, meditation and phenomenology are very, very overlapping.
Absolutely.
There's certainly differences between them, but yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor now to anybody here. Please raise your Zoom hand or your actual hand and ask Susie a question or make a comment.
Just to connect with your last comment, I edited a book on phenomenology and mindfulness, in which we brought together, the connection. And it was really fun to read the different chapters and see how many commonalities.
So this is an anthology that you're the editor of?
Yeah,
I'm going to look into that. Yeah.
I was really happy to be able to read firsthand all these contributions. There's a lot there.
Yeah, I edited a handbook on the philosophy of meditation, and we had a few chapters on
I
phenomenology and
see.
meditation. Yes, no, like, unlike,
Mhm.
people who champion the parallels, people who've
Yeah, there's always
differentiated,
that. Of course.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful marriage, I think.
Well,
Lou?
if no one's going to ask a question, I just want to comment. That was a great
Please.
interview. They're very enjoyable. Thanks to both of you. Tremendous. Great to see you again.
My
Susie, Rick, you're
pleasure.
always a wonderful host for these things. I was waiting, however, in the Penelope case, I was waiting for Godot,
Of course you were.
hanging a long time, but then finally it appeared, which was wonderful. Sometimes back to the dilemma with the boundaries. Sometimes I think we have to sharpen them, and sometimes we have to blur them, honestly. There's no one, it's like you said, it's the opposite, Rick. It's not one size fits all, it's no size fits all with this. And I think, Susie, you're very intuitive. So this is you have great radar.
Yeah, that's my means of survival, the intuition, the radar. Yeah, and I'm really glad that back then you gave that example because okay, I'm allowed.
Okay.
Yeah, for those who haven't taken the training, when Lou Marinoff leads the philosophical counseling training and certification program, and this topic comes up about the scope of practice, who we should see, we're not practicing medicine without a license. We don't diagnose people. We're not doing psychotherapy. We're not doing therapy of any kind, and technically, we're doing dialectical mirroring with people who are exploring ways of understanding their lives better. This is wisdom oriented, not healing oriented. We presuppose mental health, but a quick litmus test that Lou gives all of us. I remember when I took the training, it was the same one. It was very simple. Look, just use your instinct. When you're on the subway and somebody comes and sits next to you and they're behaving in such a way, even nothing ostensive, nothing obvious, but there's just something about them that you just feel like I should go sit somewhere else. He said, use that kind of instinct. You just have to use radar. And that sometimes that's all you have. So there was good advice. It's going to last a long time, that advice.
Yeah.
Even if we come up with better metrics and whatnot, that advice is the most important, which is just instinct. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope it doesn't outlast the subway system. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Boron, you unmuted yourself. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah. Let me ask this question. I'm really interested in this example of Christina analogy with Penelope. And I'm thinking, by the way, I'm also from Southern Europe, like Christina and Penelope and you. I'm from Croatia. And
Yeah.
where was Christina from?
Yeah, Croatia. Bingo.
She was from Croatia, really.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted to point out. The thing is, and it might enhance your perspective. The thing is that what might be going on with Christina is that what people in Southern Europe do, they rarely divorce. So the reason why she was waiting might be, what we learn as little kids, perceiving elders, like, they don't divorce. So what might be the problem for Christina? I wonder, was it really waiting for as a result of
I
so
think
like
your intuition is fine. Yeah.
so yeah, so I'm thinking, like, in order to enhance, like, because I'm a bit skeptical that we can find some kind of like normative guidance for people how to love, which is your ambition.
No,
And
that wasn't my ambition. It's a
in
training.
order, yeah, right. In order to enhance it, you might need to put more attention to that exposure of kids to see how mature grown-up marriage really works. And if you can do a better job as far as that is concerned, we would be much better shape, like, in order to prevent that waiting for Godot that never comes. And I wonder, how did that problem resolve? Did they stay together? Did husband get better?
She stayed with him. She remained with him. She was scared of a divorce, partly because her parents were divorced. So it was a back trauma for her, partly because the husband was powerful. So we work, for example, on taking away the emotional charge of her threats to her, because once the husband would come to her with a threat, then her world would collapse. So we worked on discharging the threats and say, okay, if you want to break up with me, we will face that. So she was gaining more of her world with herself. One thing I really care to say is that I don't want to give, to propose a normative ethics of love. That is the farthest thing I want to, I hope for my baby here. What I would like to do is to prove with cases, with epics, with life experiences, that we have choices, we have space for reflection, for thinking, for trying, for feeling when it comes to love problems, with relational problems. I noticed that one commonality among my clients was that in loving relationships, not necessarily romantic, but loving relationships in general, they felt that they acted out of necessity. So Christina kept, before meeting with me, kept acting out of fear. She was constantly in fear, Dimitri in rage and repression. So I really wanted to present 4 dilemmas that could give them the sense, give the reader the sense, okay, there's always a little space that I can make bigger, bigger and bigger, in which I can stay and ponder my options. So in case of Christina, our relationship wasn't fruitful anymore. I mean, once we arrived at the point of understanding the waiting, understanding that she had agency, that she had her space, we weren't going anywhere anymore. So I don't know if she searched for other people. I have no idea. But for the time we worked together, she decided to stay with her husband.
It's hard. No matter how you slice it, it's really hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's a difficult position. And the curious thing is that she was also capable of providing for herself. We also looked at things from that angle. She had a good job. She could maintain her children with no effort. But what she saw in front of her was a long, low fight with her husband about custody of her children. Even though the father didn't care much about the children, and he wasn't Croatian, he was American. So they had also this big divide. I'm afraid that he comes and take the children away, and he brings them in the US. And so it was really being the queen of her kingdom. She wanted to keep also that slice of power. Of course, maybe without maybe, there are many angles to look at her story. I gave my piece, and maybe other people helped her from other angles afterwards.
Yeah. Just a little comment on that. When I went into Gestalt psychotherapy as a client, because my divorce was very difficult for me to navigate, my therapist got me to a place where I understood what was going on better. But I still had to make all the choices, And I remember him telling me something like, the issues that you came in with are mostly clear now for you, Rick. Let's say that that's 80% of your problem. The other 20%, you have to figure that out and work that out on your own, right? So we can't tell our clients what to do or what choices to make. We can help them understand and maybe contact their agency, and that's about it, right?
Yeah, then there's action.
Yeah.
Without action, there's no way to get out of a stagnating situation. But in general, of truly understanding, because then you feel it in your body once you act.
Yeah. And this codependency thing, maybe sometimes
Exactly.
it's fear, it's habituation, it's too much of an uphill struggle if I do what I believe would be better for me and all that but they have to figure that out on their own.
Yeah, there's also always the deep-seated belief that if they, and that was part of the chapter also, if they do in a certain way, if they behave in the habitual way, then they will gain something. It becomes almost superstitious. So I'm in a loving relationship because in this way I'm loved, because in this way I'm cared for. I don't talk back because in this way we have calm and quiet relationship. It's calculating, and it doesn't go far often.
Yeah, so this codependency and unhealthy stuff, we can't control that. We can try to bring it to our clients' awareness without telling them that, by questioning them and everything. And then what they do and how they navigate that, that's in their own agency arena thing that's outside the scope of our sessions, right? But I did have another question. Unless somebody else wants to go, but this is sort of related. You talk somewhere in the book about unhealthy agape, unhealthy versions of unconditional love and stuff like that. You say, because that's kind of related a little bit to, sometimes this, what do they call spiritual bypassing, is when people appeal to spiritual concepts to kind of sublimate and hide their psychological weaknesses or something. So in codependency, it might happen too, that I'm self-sacrificing and this and that and saving the family. So speak to that. Could you speak to that a little bit? But your distinctions, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big problem. The spiritual bypassing and the complete blindness that it creates to one's own responsibility in the relationship and also power, because in doing so, you delegate power. You think you are complete only because of this sacrifice, only in this relationship, only in this connection. What I noticed is that no, no, I didn't do that in this book because generally, you know, there's but in Greek it's crazy because they have at least 8 terms to define love. As usual, Greeks have this incredible vocabulary, and agape generally is that sense of love that bring people close. It's the Catholic, not Catholic, Christian
Yeah.
love of being kind to your neighbor. Unfortunately, when it's unhealthy, when it comes from this kind of codependent relationships, for example, it's projections. It's a pile of projections, which make that kind of love unethical. Because let's come back to Christina. Although I think in that chapter I spoke about someone else, but I don't remember it all now. Christina complained that she was sacrificing much of her time, of her care for the benefit of other people, children, sisters, parents, husband. And these people didn't give her anything back. She didn't feel love. She didn't feel love because she wasn't loving in that moment. In that moment, she was projecting her own needs onto other people, and she was giving them something that they didn't ask, except for children, of course. When
Yeah,
you
I
have
think you call it something like pushing care on others.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, you push. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, except for children, of course, they need to eat, sleep, routine, be clean, and of course, but in general, yeah, my sister needs me to talk to her because she feels lonely. Did she ask you? No. So you don't oblige a person to be talking to you for 1 hour. Unconditional love, and here it's where there's yeah, there might be some polemic, of course, some disagreement. Unconditional love for me, looking at the Greek term and the epic and so on, is the ability to love someone in a way that you see the other person without idealizations, without projections, without
Anticipation of reciprocity motivating
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, anticipation of reciprocity. For me, it was, I felt deeply moved when I read the interview of the mother of the mass murder of Columbine. You know, at some point in the interview, the journalist, of course, was poking her in every angle. It was the interview itself was unpleasant. She asked her if she regretted having this child, which is a question you don't ask. But anyway, she replied with deep candor, saying, I regret not being able to love him for who he was. I couldn't see the darkness in him. I couldn't see him. What happened caught me by surprise. I didn't spend time to actually know him for who he was. And I think that that is the deep intention behind unconditional love. It's not sacrificing yourself, your core, and most importantly, the job you should do on yourself in order to gather all these feelings, emotions onto another person. I think that each one of us have their job to do on themselves. This core we need to take care of in order to develop, in order to understand who we are, and so on. And when this loving encounter happens, when this when life decides, because sometimes you have a child, sometimes a friend looks for you, sometimes you fall in love, but when life calls and this connection takes place, the best you could do is to be able to be there and see the other person. And I had, unfortunately, many women who then I had to redirect into women's centers because their partners were very violent and abusive. If you have an abusive partner, unconditional love doesn't mean I accept the abuse. It means I can finally see this man has all this rage, is abusive, is violent toward me. If you manage, you feel compassionate for this person and you take care of yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to endure the abuse, but you see, and this was a huge problem with my clients. They weren't capable of taking the first step and seeing the nature of the man they had in front of them. They wanted to justify, they wanted to
Projecting.
Oh yeah, and you know the need of I will save him.
They're
I will
seeing
save.
the man that they hope he will become.
Yes, the men maybe they met for the first three
Yeah.
dates they
Yeah.
had, or they want to save them so they don't have to save themselves and they don't have to put that care
This
onto.
is kind of like the reverse of the fundamental attribution error in psychology, where you see a person who you identify as evil, and because they do X, and you say, oh, when they do X, see, this is an indication about a fundamental attribute of theirs. That's the proof of their evil nature. But when you or your team does X, you make excuses for them, right? Because we
That's
have good
interesting.
reason.
Yeah.
This is a fundamental attribution for them, but not for us. This is a reverse of that, right? He's fundamentally good, and he's doing these things because he's suffering, he's limited, he'll get there, his job, etc., etc. He drinks too
Yeah,
much, I'll fix him, yeah.
that's a beautiful reading. Yeah, yeah. Nice criterion, yes. Sometimes, yeah, it's so hard, it's impossible to steer it to another direction. I made it maybe with two clients we managed. It was hard.
It's hard to get clients who are locked into this kind of projective dynamic to see things more clearly. Yeah, because they have so much invested in it. It's almost like
Yeah.
a sunken cost fallacy too. Like I've invested so much in this. It's not conscious, but there's a kind of attachment.
Yeah. It's wasting part of their life. It's wasting. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, if I leave this, I will have. It's an admission that I've wasted 20 years of my life or something like that. Yeah.
Almost grieving.
Yeah.
But Christine, I think she understood. She didn't take action, but she was capable of accepting it. I have this feeling. Who knows?
Other folks.
Yeah, I would love
I
to
don't
hear
want to
from you.
dominate the floor, Lou.
Yeah, but it's also a process, right? I mean, if it's like they graduated from our educational program, if you think about us as educators.
Completely.
So it's not that they failed in some way or they were
Yeah.
invested in it. It's they've progressed to a point where if their inner philosopher is awakened, they no longer need more regular guidance.
Completely.
Self-guiding, as you were saying earlier. And that was a big step for Pierre Grimes also, identifying the pathologos. If you're skilled as he was, it takes 10 minutes. But the client has to completely change the course of their way of navigating existence. And it's
Yeah, like Alcibiades, all right? Socrates straightens him out in 5 minutes, but he just keeps returning back to the character that he is.
yeah,
Ruins his life repeatedly.
sure. But it's really good to see a meta comment would be that it's really good to see both you, Rick, and also Susie. We don't interact that often. You're on that other coast, but to see the way your career trajectory has gone with this, it's fantastic.
Thanks. Well,
Yeah,
thanks to you. Yeah,
congratulations. You're having a lot of success. It's really nice to see.
Thank you, Lou. Yeah, it was fantastic to meet you. And I don't know if any now and then you receive people, because I always tell people who ask me about how did you get there and so on, go to Lou, go to Lou. I
Oh,
always
please don't send too many people. We're a little bit overworked at this end.
yeah.
Good publicity is fine. We appreciate it. APPA always wants this, but don't for. I'm referring clients out at this point. Not
See, how you
many.
do.
Just too
Ah,
busy.
okay.
Just too busy. So we want to help, obviously, to circulate.
Uh-huh.
And we have some new stuff coming. Everyone will hear about it soon. But
Nice.
fantastic. I'm going to read the book now. The both of you. It's intriguing. Thank
Thanks.
you so much.
Thanks.
The floor is open, folks. Curiosities, comments?
Exactly. Any curiosity you might have. Really curious on my turn.
Well, if nobody has another question, I've got a few more that I wanted to ask you all along. Can you talk about love values and their deep roots and the imperative to be loving?
Yeah, I mean, that was a hard chapter to write. I left it as the last one because I thought, okay, so people can read until that chapter and then drop the book and it will be fine with me. Yeah, because I'm a phenomenologist, I'm an Husserl scholar, so I was curious to see how Husserl's ethics would have worked applied on love. Um, we have so many ethics, and without knowing, we apply these ethics in love. One huge damage I often see in philosophical counseling is the application of utilitarian ethics on love. And these we apply way more than we realize. I often have clients who feel not worthy of love because maybe they are sick, because they cannot provide. I don't know, because
They're not contributing toward the greater good in the relationship.
right?
They don't have much value to offer. Yeah.
Oh, this is so painful. This is so painful. And it took, of course, I had to do this job on myself first before being able to see it in other people, because it's so ingrained in our society that, yeah, if you're not cute, yeah, it makes sense that your partner looks around, and so on and so on. So we don't know how the ethics we use in our society work in our relationships. So in the case of Husserl, it was fun because Husserl, there's the young Husserl and the old Husserl, as usual. The young was way more optimistic and ambitious than the old, more wise and down to earth. The young thought, I might be able to create a mathematics of ethics. If I manage to jot down a very strong axiology with all the values organized according to, weights and hierarchy, ethics could be very similar to mathematics. Of course, Husserl was a mathematician, so this way entered in ethics because of his scholarship. But then life happened. He lost his child in war, a war that he supported, the First World War. He, had to see the rise of totalitarianism, and he was a Jew. Life proved him in different ways. And then he realized that, yes, there are values that might even be organized according to this hierarchy, but love values resist this organization. Love values are rooted in our personality, in who we are as individuals, our personal stories. when you are, I don't know, when you are loving someone, there's this famous example of the child. Yeah, a mother might want to listen to a beautiful sonata of Mozart and relax and have her time and so on. But if her child is crying, there's no game. She will go and take care of the child. So there are certain values that are embodied, and we cannot organize them in any other way. And the fact that these values are embodied challenges our way of growing as individuals. It's a good luck, after all, that there are these values, like Achilles, who had to choose to obey Athena, because in that obedience, in recognizing that value, we are obliged to sit with something that makes us uncomfortable. We are obliged to sit with that value, with that challenge, with that resistance, with that package of thoughts, of problems, and feel it and find a way out. So there are values that are deeply conflicting, and I think, I mean, all of us lived at least once those conflicts. You know, you receive a job promotion, but that means to travel, and your family is, I don't know, in the East Coast, and you have to go to the West Coast, but this job is really your life, and you will grow. How do you handle that? So there are love values that cannot be organized in a hierarchy, and it's basically, this book is dedicated to these love values. When we find ourselves in front of something that we consider valuable, and it poses a sort of a dilemma, or there was a chapter on the tragic choice. There are moments in which whatever choice you make, it's the wrong one, or it's the right one, or whatever you want to see it. It will not make you feel good, and it will not be the immediate solution, any way you look at it. Nevertheless, it's the little tunnel you have to pass through in life in order to get to know yourself, in order to evolve, in order to build true relationships. Because whether you want it or not, just your simple being, and here there's maybe a little bit of Levinas, triggers the ethical path of others. You, in being honest with yourself, in being connected with your ground, you are exciting other electrons. So you are moving life. Other people will have to think about their choices, about their decisions. So it's hard. The imperative in the end for Husserl becomes do your best. And it's interesting because the first imperative was tue das best. So do the best. In the second version, when he was older, he says tue dein best. So you want to do something that is best according to your personalities, your value, according to the best of your knowledge, which is a very wise, simple imperative, which is incredibly hard to put in practice when we are living a value conflict, especially in love. And when I was writing this book, I had to make that choice because I was living in Switzerland. I got a tenure track in San Francisco. I wanted to have a family. I didn't have it yet. And the pandemic just hit and the wildfires in San Francisco started. So, oh my God, what do I do? This book, somehow in the book, I didn't write about that, but I was living through a similar dilemma while writing it.
Yeah,
And now here.
I wonder how often that is that the books that we're writing are significantly influenced by the background conditions of our lives at the time. There's a lot of
Me,
synchronicity in the world of this kind of work. Lou could talk about that, right? You know, it often happens that the clients who come in, synchronicity, they have
bravo,
the issue that you need help
bravo.
with at that time.
Let's talk about that. How often that happens to me? And it's something, codependence. Whoa, it's something that maybe you just went 3 steps ahead in your life, and then the client comes and brings that problem. No. Okay. I'm familiar with it. Let's talk about that. It's yeah, this is magical almost.
Well, it's almost mystical or supernatural. Lou, what's the chapter that you wrote about that called it's in the collection that I wrote the preface to, yeah?
Oh, yeah, thank you for the shout out and the reminder because it happened so often at that point. But there were a bunch of them, it wasn't one of them. They were coming in pairs and trios, and then they unresolved all at the same time. So it produced a chapter called what? Synchronicity, Serpents, and Something Elseness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what's the name of the book again?
Uh,
Essays. This is a
yeah.
subtitle.
Well, Rick, come on. You co-edit. I'm going to
I
get
know. My memory lately,
I'm
Lou, I
going to
have
show it
so,
to them, okay?
okay. No, I have so much going on in my life right now. When I have too many things going on, my short-term memory is the first thing to go.
Oh
So yeah.
yeah.
Essays on praxis, on philosophical
Philosophy, practice,
praxis,
and culture.
It's a terrible title. That's why nobody remembers it.
essays on philosophical praxis and
They never
culture.
should let the author pick the title at times. It's really a bad idea. Okay, is that clear? No. Essays on philosophy, praxis, and culture.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All three, and yeah, in that essay has been translated into Chinese and all over the place. It really
Wow.
it hit a nerve because of Jung. And Irvin Yalom got mixed up in all of this. It was J. Michael Russell's fault entirely. Michael, a great colleague from out your way, a little further south, L.A. But Michael Russell had a lot of synchronicity.
I remember.
Did
Yeah.
you remember J. Michael? You were maybe
Yeah.
in that group with J. Michael.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
you? Yeah. So J. Michael was trapped in an elevator with Timothy Leary.
No.
Okay. This is You'd appreciate this, Rick. This is your kind of thing, right?
I just read about Timothy Leary today, speaking of synchronicity.
I'll stop. I'll quit while I'm ahead then. But
No,
synchronicity
no, tell us.
happens when we're open to it. I know of no better explanation really than Jung's. There may be some better one, but this seems to be, right now the most sound kind of inference we can make. But it does undeniably happen, but not all the time. It just happens.
No, it's incredible. Yeah. We are all learners. So a little bit ahead, behind, but it's all relative.
We're mirrors, sometimes
Mm-mm.
mirrors
Mm,
both ways. So it's a very good thing.
mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished reading a book from the fellow who was here last time, Michael Grosso. I only read part of it for the interview, and then I read the rest of it afterwards. And he talks a lot about synchronicities, like they're on the level of the miraculous, the ones in his
Okay.
book. It's a phenomenal book. The name of the book is The Smile of the Universe. And it's on the website. It was the previous interview that we had here at the book club. Were you there for that, Lou? Or you couldn't make
But
it?
no, but post-produced. I saw
Yeah,
it in
yeah,
post-production. It was
right.
great.
Yeah,
And I know Michael for a very long time too,
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Michael is like this. He's very gifted as a philosopher, Columbia trained. He's a really great, in that mode, but he's also a painter and a
Oh,
creator of
wow.
things. So both hemispheres of his brain are very active, and I think there's something to be said for that. Maybe there's a resonance. You reach a certain point when your hemispheres are in balanced activity. Maybe a lot of people's problems are just this, one hemisphere is more dominant over the other. That's
Yeah,
just I'm just throwing that out, okay?
yeah,
Maybe
I know.
there's a book there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I look, my attitude about talk of brain hemispheres is that Well, it maps onto something real, even if it's not distributed across our hemispheres the way people who talk about brain hemispheres talk about it.
No,
You
because
know?
there's redundancy. There's redundancy all over the brain. It's a good thing. But bring
Right,
Susie back. We
yeah.
lost Susie. What happened?
Oh
No,
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 she's
I'm
there.
here.
Yeah,
Do you
but you're
see
not
me?
spotlighted. Take the spotlight, de-spotlight me
Oh,
and get up.
I didn't spotlight anybody today, Lou, and I realized that halfway into the interview, and I just said I'm not going to do the spotlight. It's too late.
Yeah, that's
Really?
perfect.
It's been on autopilot. It's been perfect. Somehow the whole thing
Oh,
is
it's been happening. I can't wait to see the recording. Okay.
right. Except Susie is now miniaturized, and if you're gonna wrap it up, you're
Ah, okay.
back,
All right.
please.
Okay. So let's spotlight Susie for
Oh,
There we
now.
go.
oh,
Yes.
So
okay.
Susie, we always end with giving our guest the opportunity to plug your next book or your last book or what, your channel, YouTube, your blogs, whatever it is that you have a Psychology Today thing, whatever. What would you like to? Any last thoughts that you didn't get to say, or plug anything you'd like?
I mean, the conversation was absolutely pleasant, and it brought out even more than I hoped I could talk for. Yeah, I mean, there's this new book on phenomenology of pregnancy and early motherhood. Again, life and writing for me are very much connected. I had my child, and I thought, yeah. It's incredible how transformative and unseen this experience is. I have absolutely to do some phenomenology of it. So I'm very happy that it saw the light, and I foresee a new challenge because there's another book coming on the notion of identity, and in that case, I think I will bring back a philosophical counseling. I think it's going to be very challenging. So wish me good luck.
Yeah, a tough topic.
It's a tough topic, and I am the first one to go under the grind in order to be able to be honest and candid and straightforward in what I write. Yeah, and there's the podcast Philosophy Get Personal. You can find it online. It's fun, light, but with deep thoughts. Lou was one of the guests. And yeah, there's No Bump No Care, a new non-profit that I founded of philosophical counselors, actually, where I connect philosophical counselors from everywhere in the world. We have people from India, Africa, Europe, to provide first aid support for mothers or women who are in this transition, for reproductive rights, for the reproductive journey in general. So if you want to be part, if you want to give a look, yeah, it's called No Bump, No Care. Yeah, the title comes from my realization that we take care
No
of
bump, no care.
right, motherhood and all the related issues only for those two, sometimes just one trimester in which there's the bump. When the bump is no longer there, we don't make enough space for newborns, children, new families. It's so, and I'm combining philosophical counseling with this activity.
That's great.
So
That's
any of you is
more
interested.
philosophy to the people.
Yeah, right. Trying to bring it to a practical ground.
Wonderful. It just dawned on me to have one last quick question. I hope you don't mind.
Of course.
My last name is Repetti, so I'm curious, where in Italy are you from?
I'm from Roma.
Oh, Roma. I was there this summer. Yes, it was wonderful.
And your last name, yeah, it's Italian. Do you have
Yes,
Italian
Northern
origin?
Italian from Piacenza. My family.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice to visit.
near
Roma is
near
chaotic,
Parma.
so I don't know. Now we have a new pope and the Jubileum.
An American Pope, yes.
An American Pope, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was
Thank you
wonderful
for the
having you, and thank
invitation.
everybody for coming. And Lou
It
will
was
get
great
this up
seeing you.
online soon.
For sure.
All right. Take care. Thanks
Okay.
Sure.
again for the
Ciao.
Thanks,
invitation.
everybody.
Ciao.
Great to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Susie. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.